Most people think they know what prison is like. Cold walls, steel bars, angry men locked away for murder, assault, robbery. You know, the usual sins. But the place I work, it's nothing like that. It's called Facility D47, and it's not even on a map. No GPS, no road signs, not even a mailing address. I had to be blindfolded on my first day. I thought it was a joke, a government scare tactic to mess with the newbies. But after that first week, I understood why. This place isn't for criminals the public knows about. It's for the ones who did things so unnatural, so unexplainable they don't make the news. The kind of stuff that, if you saw it, your brain would try to convince you it didn't happen. Crimes that don't have names. Crimes that don't belong in our world. We don't call them inmates. We call them subjects. They're kept in isolated blocks. Steel-reinforced cells with red lights that never go off. Each block is underground, separated by layers of concrete and electronic barriers. No windows, no clocks. Time doesn't work the same here. I've been here 4 years now. I don't even know how they found me. One day I was working security at a regular state prison, and the next, I got a call offering double my salary and lifetime benefits. They didn't even say the job was at a prison, just that it was classified and needed someone with nerves of steel. Guess I had those. Or thought I did. There are 27 subjects currently locked up in Facility D47. I'm assigned to Section 3, cells 9 through 12. I've only ever seen one of the subjects with my own eyes. That was Subject 10. We're not supposed to look at them directly. Every guard is given mirrored glasses. We walk past, we check vitals, we listen for changes. If anything feels off, we hit the panic button and pray we still have time to run. But curiosity got me once. Just once. It was a Tuesday, around 3 a.m. Always the deadest part of the night. The silence in this place isn't normal. It's not just quiet, it's like the walls suck up sound. You can scream and it won't echo. I walked by cell 10 and I noticed the door light was blinking. Red, that means the subject is either out of place or conscious when it shouldn't be. Some subjects are only supposed to be awake during designated hours. It's safer that way. I looked through the slit in the door. The mirrored glasses slipped slightly. I saw a face. Except it wasn't really a face. It looked like a face you try to draw from memory, just off enough to make your stomach twist. The eyes were too far apart, the smile too wide, the skin too pale, almost translucent. It was staring at me like it had been waiting. Then it smiled and mouthed something I'll never forget. You don't know what I did, but you will. That night I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes I saw that face, and I heard the whispers. Not in my head but right outside my door. Like something was standing there, just breathing. I kept a loaded Glock under my pillow after that. Thing is, we're not allowed to ask what the subjects did. It's protocol. Need to know only. But there's this rumor. Something passed around in hushed voices among the long-timers. They say if you work here long enough, you eventually do find out what they did. Not because someone tells you, but because it starts happening to you. And lately, things have been getting weird. My mirror doesn't reflect right. My dreams feel more like memories. And last night, when I checked my teeth in the bathroom mirror, I swear there were too many. The next morning, I went to work like nothing happened. What else could I do? Call in sick? There's no sick leave here. Once you're in, you're in. The contract literally says, permanent duty, unless otherwise terminated by executive clearance or death. And believe me, the second option happens more often than the first. Still, I couldn't shake what I saw in the mirror the night before. I ran my tongue along my teeth 3, maybe 4 times before I finally told myself I was imagining things. Lack of sleep, high stress, paranoia. Happens to all guards eventually. But then things got weirder. On my way down to Section 3, I noticed something unusual. The lights in Hallway Delta were flickering. Not in that usual old building kind of way. They were pulsing, dimming and brightening at steady intervals. Like breathing. You ever seen a hallway breathe? I have. And that was before I even clocked in. When I reached my post, I scanned in like normal. Biometric reader, retina scan, voice ID. The whole process takes a few minutes, more if the system decides it doesn't recognize you. I'd seen 2 guards disappear just because their scans didn't match. No explanation, no farewell. They just weren't on shift anymore. Once inside, I did my usual round. Subject 9 was dormant. No noise, no movement. That one's easy to deal with, as long as you don't speak while near the door. It mimics voices, dead ones. A rookie tried talking to it last year. Heard his dead mother's voice from inside the cell. He had a breakdown, clawed at his own ears until they bled. He doesn't work here anymore either. Subject 11 had some kind of incident the day before, so his door was sealed tight with triple lockdowns. Rumor says he bends metal with his thoughts. Not like a magician, I mean real bending. Once twisted a full set of iron bars into the shape of a spiral staircase, while laughing. But it was Subject 10 that made my spine curl that day. The cell was different. The red light above his door was off. That light never turns off. I stared at the blank space for what felt like forever, just standing there, heart hammering, waiting for it to come back on. I radioed in, but all I got was static. Thick, warbly static, like someone was drowning on the other end of the line. I tried again. Same thing. I should have left. Protocol says leave the floor immediately if comms go down. But I didn't. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was something worse, like that thing behind the door was pulling at me, whispering in my bones. I stepped closer. Inside the cell, I heard something. A clicking sound, like long nails tapping against steel. Then a voice. Not out loud, in my head. I told you, you'd know. Suddenly my nose started bleeding. Heavy, like a faucet turned on. I stumbled back, pulled off my glove, and used it to catch the blood. But it wasn't red. It was black. Thick, tar-like sludge dripping from my nose, pooling in the palm of my hand. My skin started to burn where it touched. I felt like my insides were rearranging, like my bones wanted out. Then the red light above cell 10 flickered back on. Slowly, like nothing had happened. The pain stopped. The bleeding stopped. Just like that. 1 second I thought I was dying, the next, nothing. I looked at my glove. Clean. No blood. No black sludge. Just normal. I should have reported it. I really should have. But how do you explain that to someone? Hey, one of the nightmare monsters whispered in my head and made me bleed tar. So I said nothing. That night, I had a dream, only it didn't feel like mine. I was strapped to a cold metal table, surrounded by figures in long black robes with no faces. They whispered things I couldn't understand, and every time they did, I forgot a little more about who I was. When I woke up, my pillow was soaking, wet but not from sweat. It smelled like seawater, and there was sand in my bed. I didn't sleep the next night. Not properly, at least. Every time I closed my eyes, I could feel something watching me. Not from outside the room, but inside my own head. Like someone was flipping through my memories, stopping to stare at the worst ones. By the time my shift started again, my hands were shaking. The facility looked normal at first, as normal as this place gets. The walls still breathed. The hum of the generators still pressed against your eardrums. But there was something different in the air that night. A kind of stillness. Like the whole place was holding its breath. When I got down to Section 3, I noticed a guard I hadn't seen before. Tall guy, pale, bald. No name tag, no badge, just a standard uniform and those same mirrored glasses. I nodded at him. He didn't nod back, just kept staring at the wall. I walked past him, trying not to think too hard about it. Sometimes they bring in specialists, psych experts, occult researchers, people who know how to handle the subjects when they go off the rails. Still, something about him set my nerves on fire. My round began. Subject 9 was awake. I don't mean moving around, I mean whispering. Through the reinforced door I could hear it. This garbled, raspy sound like a dozen voices overlapping. None of them matched. One was a child. Another was a man with a deep southern drawl. Another wasn't even human. It sounded like something choking on its own breath. And then one voice stood out. My father's. Danny, it said, why didn't you save me? My dad died in a fire when I was 15. I wasn't even in the same state. But somehow this thing knew. It used it. I kept walking. Subject 10's cell was silent, not in a comforting way, not in the everything is calm way. It was a dead silence. Like the air around the cell wasn't just still. It was hollow. I could feel a pressure in my chest, like something heavy was sitting on me, even though I wasn't touching the door. I took a breath, placed my palm on the sensor, and began the vitals check. As soon as the monitor lit up, the screen glitched. Static. Lines. The power flickered. And then a message appeared on the display. Cell 10. Subject escaped. Time. Unknown. I froze. I looked up at the door. Still locked. Still glowing red. But that didn't mean anything. This place had redundancies. False signals. Fail-safes. The systems lie more often than they tell the truth. My hand reached for the radio. Dispatch, this is Officer Daniels, Section 3. I've got an anomaly on Cell 10, requesting confirmation of containment. No response. Repeat. Requesting confirmation of Subject 10 containment. Possible system breach. Static. Then the voice came through. But it wasn't dispatch. It was mine. Daniel, you're already in the cell. I dropped the radio. The hallway lights flickered, then went pitch black. Total darkness. No backup. Lights. No glow from the monitors. I couldn't see my hands in front of my face. Then the lights came back on. And the hallway was different. Longer. The walls were wet, dripping. The floor beneath my boots was soft, like I was standing on flesh. I turned around, trying to retrace my steps, but the hallway just kept going. The exit was gone. So were the other cells. Then I saw him, the pale guard, standing at the end of the hall. Still, silent. Head tilted slightly, like he was waiting. I took one step forward, and suddenly, he was right in front of me. No movement. Just there. Up close, I saw his eyes through the mirrored glasses. He didn't blink. He didn't breathe. His skin looked stretched, like it didn't fit right on the bones underneath. He leaned forward and whispered one word into my ear. Welcome. Then everything went black again. When I woke up, I was lying in my bunk. My uniform was soaked in sweat, my boots were covered in sand again, and my reflection was gone from the mirror. I didn't report what happened. Who would I tell? Hey, I just got sucked into a meat hallway, stared down a faceless ghoul, and now my reflection's gone. That's a quick ticket to medical observation, which is just a padded room 2 floors down where they keep the ones who snap. No one comes back from there. Instead, I showed up to my next shift like nothing happened, pretended everything was fine, laughed at one of the guards' terrible coffee jokes. But inside, I was crumbling. Every mirror in the facility, bathroom, hallway, locker room, showed the same thing. Nothing. I'd stand right in front of one, wave my hands, blink, smile. Nothing reflected back. Like I didn't exist, I even tested it in the worst way I could think of. Cut my palm open with my boot knife. Deep. Watched the blood run down my arm. No reflection. Just a blank mirror, perfectly clean. Like it was ignoring me. That night, when I finally got back to my quarters, I locked the door, shoved a chair under the knob, and sat with my back to the wall. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the wall, breathing slow, trying to stay calm. Then I heard a knock. Not at the door. At the mirror. 3 slow knocks, like knuckles on glass. I turned. Nothing there. But when I got close, I saw it. A single smudge mark. Not on my side. Inside the glass. Like someone had pressed their hand against it from the other side. And then came the voice. Quiet. Croaky. Almost sad. Let me out, Daniel. I backed away, tripped over my own feet, landed hard. By the time I scrambled up, the mirror was clean again, perfect, shiny. Except now I could see my reflection, only it wasn't me. The face was wrong. Off. Too thin. The skin looked rubbery, waxy. The eyes blinked a second too late. Like it had to remember how. I didn't sleep. I just sat in the corner of the room until the alarm buzzed for my next shift. That day, I wasn't on the roster for Section 3. I was reassigned to Observation Hall. Observation is where they keep the live feed recordings of subject behavior. Each room is tied to a specific cell. Monitors everywhere, headphones, speakers, emergency shutdown switches in case something tries to reach through. Yeah, you heard that right. Sometimes, the recordings touch back. Room 4B, that was mine. 4 screens, subjects 1, 4, 12, and 27. The worst part? I didn't recognize any of them. I'd been there for 4 years, memorized every subject, every nickname, every shift rotation. But these, they weren't part of the regular containment list. Not officially, no names, no crimes. Just designations, das day, void child por X, the thing that prays gosh tai ji, the imitator. Redacted. That last one. That one chilled me. The screen was black. No feed. Just a single blinking message. Error 27. I detected. The tech next. To me, some wiry guy named Martin who chewed on his badge lanyard like a pacifier, leaned over and whispered, "Don't blink too long at 27. It watches back." I tried not to stare, but curiosity won again. I focused on screen 12G. The imitator. It looked like a normal person. Middle-aged man. Sitting in the corner of a white cell, humming to himself. Until he looked up at the camera. Then he changed. His skin started shifting, bones rearranging. I swear to God I heard bones cracking through the monitor. His face contorted, nose flattening, lips shrinking, eyes darkening until they looked just like me. He was imitating me, right down to the scar above my eyebrow. Then he opened his mouth and whispered, "Why did you let them lock us up, Daniel? Feed cut." Screen went blank. Every hair on my body stood up. My heart thudded in my ears. I pulled off the headphones and sat there, shaking. Martin didn't say a word. He just looked at me and smiled. Except, it wasn't a smile of comfort. It was the same too-wide smile I'd seen behind cell 10. I tried to quit. I went to Supervisor Darnell's office, knocked 3 times, and told him I was done. Transfer me, fire me, hell, kill me. Just get me out of this damn place. He didn't even look up from his clipboard. He just said, flat, as a robot. "You were never hired, Daniels." I laughed, out loud, thought it was a joke. I told him I signed a contract, went through orientation. Hell, I'd been working 4 years. I named every subject I'd guarded, every wing I'd patrolled. He slid a file across the desk. My name was there, but nothing else. No photo, no fingerprints, no emergency contact, no record of salary, address, tax forms. Under role, it said, internal element observation pending. "Am I a subject?" I asked, voice cracking. Darnell finally looked up. His eyes weren't right. They were mirrors, not metaphorically, literally. I saw my face reflecting off both pupils, and in those reflections, I wasn't moving. But Darnell just said, "You were chosen, Daniels. You don't get to walk away. The facility already decided you're part of it." I backed out of the office without another word. I didn't even realize I was crying until I hit the hallway and tasted salt on my lips. Back in the dorm, I packed what little I had. Toothbrush, journal, a single photo of my mother. I planned to leave at shift change. Slip past the guards, maybe try the freight lift to the upper tunnels. Only when I reached for the photo, it wasn't of my mother anymore. It was me, smiling. But not the way I actually smile. The expression was wrong, forced, And the background. It wasn't our house, it was one of the cells. Cell 10, I think. That night I didn't leave, because something left me. Around 2:33 a.m., I woke to find the lights off. Not just in my dorm, but the entire level. Pitch black, not even emergency lighting. I reached for my flashlight, clicked it on, and instantly dropped it. Someone was standing in the corner of the room, not moving, not breathing, just watching. Didn't ask who. I didn't speak. I crawled slowly out of bed and back toward the door. Every inch I moved, it took one step forward, closer, closer. I felt the cold metal handle behind me, twisted it, threw the door open, and slammed straight into Martin. He looked terrified, pale, sweating. "Did you see it too?" he whispered. Nodded. "I haven't slept in 3 days," he said, voice shaking. "Every time I do, I wake up somewhere else. I was in Subject 12's cell yesterday. I don't even remember how. I thought it was a dream, but..." He pulled up his sleeve. There were bite marks on his arm. Circular, human, but not his. "I think the facility's testing us," he said. "Or maybe we were subjects the whole time. Maybe this place isn't a prison." "Then what the hell is it?" I asked. Martin looked over his shoulder, then leaned in and whispered, "A mirror." Before I could ask what he meant, the hallway, lights blinked back on. The thing in my room was gone. But my door was wide open, and on the inside, scratched deep into the steel, were 4 words. "We are still inside." And suddenly I remembered something I shouldn't have. A dream? No. A memory. A cold room. A metal table. A needle in my spine. Voices chanting in a language that hurt to hear. My name being whispered, then erased. I sat on the floor and started laughing. Because maybe Martin was right. Maybe we were never guarding the subjects. Maybe we were duplicates, echoes, replicas made to keep the originals company. Or maybe we were the crimes this place was built to contain. After that night, things didn't go back to normal, though, because there was no normal left. The facility had changed, literally. Hallways didn't lead to the same rooms anymore. Vents hummed in languages. Elevators stopped on floors that weren't listed on any blueprint. And every time I looked at a clock, it showed a different time, even if I looked at the same one twice. Martin and I stuck close. We didn't talk much. There wasn't anything to say. We both knew the same truth now. We weren't just employees. We were experiments, observations, maybe even pieces of something older and far worse than science. We decided to find Cell 10 again, not for protocol. Not to log a report, but to open it. Maybe it sounds insane, but when you lose track of what's real, when your memories feel like someone else's dreams, all that's left is instinct. And mine told me that whatever was behind Cell 10, it wasn't just a subject. It was the beginning. We waited until 3rd shift, when the guards were thinned out and the lights flickered worst. That's when the facility's grip loosens, when it forgets to track you. Navigating to Section 3 was like swimming through syrup. The air was thick. The walls seemed closer together. The red security lights pulsed like heartbeats, and when we reached Cell 10, the door was already ajar. No alarms, no blinking light, no sound at all. I looked at Martin. He nodded once. No words, just shared madness. We pushed the door open. The cell wasn't a room. It was a hole, a downward shaft, black, endless, rimmed with rusted metal and what looked like old teeth embedded in the walls. There were no stairs, no ladder, just cold air rising from the depths, smelling of brine and rot and something sweeter, like meat left out too long. Then something rose from the darkness. At first, it looked like smoke, then a shape, a human form, suspended upside down, skin stretched and shimmering like it was made of plastic wrap. No eyes, no mouth, just a face twisted into a frozen scream. Martin stumbled back. "I saw that thing in my dreams," he whispered. "I thought it was a nightmare." The shape hovered between us and the doorway. Behind it, the hole pulsed with a dim red glow. like something down there was breathing. No, calling. The figure finally moved. Its head turned right side up with a sickening crack, twisting unnaturally. No muscles, no bones, just turning. Then, it spoke, but not with a voice, with thought, and it didn't speak to both of us, just me. You remember now, don't you? And I did. All at once. Memories not mine. Or maybe buried. I was patient 0. The first trial in a project called reflection therapy. They'd taken me from a regular psych ward and told me I was being moved to a containment observation role. But there was no job. There never was. They let me believe I was a guard so I'd feel safe, so I'd be controlled. But the truth? They built the prison around us. Each subject, a fractured part of someone who had done something so horrible, it couldn't be processed by law, by death, or by God, so they broke the soul into pieces and stored each piece here, where it couldn't infect the world again. And I was one of them. Or all of them. The thing in front of me. It was me. The part they cut out. The guilt. The rage. The memory of what I'd actually done before they erased me and planted me in a fake uniform. I fell to my knees. Martin was yelling. I couldn't hear him. All I could hear was the thing saying, "You were never supposed to wake up." Then everything turned. White, not light, not heat, just absence. Like I had blinked, and the entire facility stopped existing. I opened my eyes, and I was back in the observation room. Monitors on, coffee steaming, guards walking past like nothing had happened. Martin was gone. Cell 10 was sealed tight, the red light glowing steady, and a sticky note sat on my desk. It read, "We put it back in. For now. Don't look in mirrors for 72 hours. The note said not to look in mirrors for 72 hours. I made it 23. It wasn't curiosity. It was compulsion. I tried to avoid them. I covered the mirror in my dorm with a towel, refused to use the bathroom near Section 3. Even turned off my monitor screen when it reflected too much light. But it was everywhere. The gleam off the glass of my coffee cup. The shine of polished tile. My own pupils. I started seeing echoes. My reflection moved when I didn't. Smiling when I was stone-faced. Frowning when I laughed nervously with the other guards. At one point I scratched my chin during rounds, and in the reflection on the polished control panel my mirror self didn't move at all. Just stared. It was studying me. By the second day I stopped eating. Martin was still gone. No record of him. No mention. No one remembered him. Not even the guards who used to sit with us during breaks. I asked about him at dispatch. The clerk laughed. "There's no Martin here," she said, like I'd asked about the Easter Bunny. She turned back to her terminal, and I saw something flash across the screen behind her. Subject 10, Martin Kale. Status, reabsorbed. I threw, up in the hallway. Couldn't stop for 5 minutes. When I looked up, the mirror across from the med bay was fogged up. Not with steam, but with breath. I didn't get close. I didn't need to. A single word was scrawled into the condensation, soon. I knew then, it was breaking out again. Not Cell 10, me, I was breaking out. Whatever they'd shoved deep into my subconscious, whatever they'd sealed inside that cell was clawing its way back to the surface. And they couldn't stop it, because the cell was never real. It was me. The door, the lock, the thing behind it. All of it. That night, I started writing letters to myself. Pages of gibberish, symbols, phrases that didn't belong to any language, but felt familiar. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to find words scratched into my arms with paper clips. Reflect, return, rejoin. The phrase kept looping in my head like a song I'd never heard. Day 3, final shift. They reassigned me to the deepest level, sub-basement 6. I didn't even know we had a sub-6. It wasn't on the original map they gave me years ago, but the elevator took me straight there with no passcode, like it had been waiting. The doors opened into a narrow hallway, bare concrete, wet walls, flickering lights that hummed too loud. The air smelled wrong like sulfur and flowers. At the end of the hallway was a single door. No markings, no handle, just a biometric scanner that pulsed red. I didn't touch it, but it opened anyway. Inside was a room I remembered from dreams, surgical lights, a long metal table, straps, a camera in the corner, and on the table lay me, not a clone, not a double. It was me, sleeping, breathing, hooked up to a network of IVs and wires. Tubes ran into its nose and mouth. Its skin was cracked in places like old paint, veins dark and pulsing, and above the bed, projected on the wall, was a live feed. Subject 10, status, host dormant, reflection active. That's when it hit me. I was the reflection, not the real Daniel. The real one was on the table, comatose, locked away while his darker half and me guy was monitored, studied, let loose just enough to see what happened when it was given control. I was the experiment. The prison wasn't holding me. I was the prison. And now, I think I'm escaping. Because when I turned around, the door was gone and the room started to mirror itself. The floor became the ceiling. The lights shimmered in reverse. And I saw him, the other Daniel, open his eyes on the table. He looked at me and smiled, that same wrong smile, and whispered, "Switch." Switch. That word didn't echo in the room. It implanted itself in me, like a virus. My limbs went cold. My vision fractured into static. I felt myself glitch, like a file being corrupted in real time. And then, silence. I tried to move, but my body didn't listen, because it wasn't mine anymore. Across the room, Daniel, the real one, sat up on the table. Tubes popped free like strings from a puppet. He swung his legs off the side, stood and stretched like he'd just woken from a long nap. And then, he looked at me, smiled that smile again. "You've served your sentence," he said, voice rough like sandpaper on stone. "Now it's my turn." I wanted to scream, fight, do something, but I couldn't even blink. My reflection, or whatever I had become, was frozen in place, conscious but trapped. A mind without a body. Daniel walked toward me, eyes gleaming with something ancient, not madness, not evil, design. He touched my forehead with his thumb and whispered a second word, "Forget." And just like that, the lights went out. When I woke up, I was in a chair, uniform on, coffee steaming beside me, monitors glowing. Another normal shift at facility D47, except nothing was normal. I looked down at my hands, clean, smooth, younger, no scars, no burn mark on my wrist, no tattoo I got at 21. My reflection, perfect, soulless, like a stock photo come to life. The memories were scrambled, like someone had shaken my brain in a jar and put it back wrong. I remembered Martin, but only as a dream. I remembered Cell 10, but only as a number, not what was inside. I stood up, tried to speak. My voice came out flat, empty. A coworker walked by and nodded. "Morning, Daniels," he said, like nothing was wrong. And that's when it hit me. He was saying it to me. I was Daniel now. The real one had taken my place, slipped into the world like a snake into warm skin. He was out there now, living, free. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was when I saw the clipboard at the edge of the console. New entry logged. A subject transferred from long-term holding into active containment. No name, just Subject 11B, reflection host, inverted state. Containment cell, 10 status dormant, observation required. Notes memory suppression successful. Subject believes self to be staff. I read it again and again and again until I couldn't breathe. Because now I was in the mirror. My life, my job, my identity, none of it was mine. It never had been. They let me write this log. They think it's part of the observation process, some coping mechanism to keep me stable, but it's not. It's a warning. If you're reading this, you're already part of it. The facility doesn't hide behind security. It hides behind reality. You don't work here because you applied. You work here because you're being punished or studied or remembered. Look in a mirror. Watch closely. Wait long enough and you'll see it. The version of you that blinks out of sync. And when it smiles, don't smile back. Because that's not a reflection anymore, that's your replacement. End.